Welcome to the third Talk Sox podcast live stream. We're here at the unfortunate conclusion of Game 3 of the wild card round. And as always, I'm here with Maddie. And tonight, instead of Brock, we are joined by Nick, who will be on in just a second. That sucked.
Well, I feel like that's a loaded question, Alex. I will say, a positive from today with the 8 o'clock start time was that I actually got to go to the gym and lift. Like the last two games were at 6, and that's my prime designated lifting time. So,
Right,
at
of course.
at least there was that. Yeah, just oh my god. How do you feel, Alex?
So I watched the first 3 innings in the press box at my high school football stadium as I was calling the game, as I was calling junior high football games on the PA system. I got in the car and the Yankees promptly score 4 runs. So I don't feel great. Once again, and we had this conversation last night around Whitlock. Alex Cora left Connolly early and too long. Not watching the fourth where all the runs were scored, but listening to Will Fleming, who will never see this probably, but shout out to Will Fleming. He has just been a phenomenal radio broadcast all season. He said everybody that is stepping up to the plate for the Yankees just looks very comfortable. He said it almost seemed like Wells in that catcher's interference, non-catcher's interference that led to the error. He was like, Wells knew every pitch that was coming. As we know, the Yankees are very good about finding tells in pitchers. Judge was communicating Chapman's fastball for game 1. So obviously there was something there with early, and the Yankees took advantage of it there in the fourth, and just absolute piss poor defense and the inability to hit baseballs.
You mentioned the defense. When things go awry for the Red Sox, they fall so hard.
Yeah.
And we've seen that a lot this year.
Yeah, and it is a constant theme. One thing that we've talked about on the podcast probably a handful of times, and I know it's been brought up on the site, it's been brought up in comment sections. When it comes to baseball fundamentals, the Red Sox are lacking. At least some of them. We talked about Duran. I'm going to change our layout real quick because we don't have a graphic today because Brock's not on. So until Nick gets back, I'm going to change our layout to this so it looks a little more even. But when it comes to fundamental baseball, the Red Sox seem to forget how to do that occasionally. Be it last night with the Jarren Duran, where he just boofed it off his thumb while trying to make a diving catch on a ball that didn't need to be a diving catch.
He overran that. If you didn't see that quote, he said it himself. The thing with Duran is that
him for taking accountability, but
I'm
over it at this point.
It's such a mental thing with him, and I know the Red Sox were one of the first teams back in the day to hire, a sports psychologist, kind of like that woman on Ted Lasso. I forget her name, but you know who I'm talking about.
I do, yeah, I do.
So, kudos to them for that because, baseball is a marathon. It's a 162-game season, and a lot of it is just grinding through. And, having somebody to talk to is really crucial for, any player.
Absolutely. And baseball's a mental game at its core, but man, it just seems like once he has one mistake, once he goes cold for a couple of games, it just snowballs.
A part of me also wonders, okay, I don't I don't want this to turn into a ragging on Duran for
Oh,
for, like, a
don't worry,
scapegoat of the
Maddie.
season.
I'm going to
But
do that in an article very soon.
I mean, I will anxiously be, waiting to see that, at seven
I
o'clock in the
already have
morning.
ideas.
But yeah, just, I wonder if I mean, again, we also don't see all the camera angles, but, I mean, a part of me wonders if he's, kinda bringing the vibes down, if he's, spiraling.
Absolutely. You think like he seems to kind of he's I think he's a very I think he's an introvert that's very good at being an extrovert. Um
Mhm,
as pretending to be an extrovert, I should say. That's a descriptor that I use a lot for myself. I'm very introverted, but by the nature of my job, I'm a teacher through this podcast, through writing, um, through all the announcing that I do. I have to pretend to be an extrovert, and I think Duran is pretty much in that same boat. Um, so you have to think that when he's in the dugout, he's probably not the most chipper during these times where things aren't going his way. Like you said, I don't want this to turn into a rag on Duran podcast live stream, but I think that realistically, you can place the game two loss pretty squarely on his shoulders. And as we talked about yesterday, like Kyle Hudson needs to take some ownership of that as well.
mhm.
Um, but today, when the lineup came out and I saw that Romy was at second,
Oh, I
um,
almost, like, punched a wall in my office.
yeah,
That was frustrating.
I don't understand why Sogard or Eaton wasn't at second base. Um,
Y Yeah, Sogard
Romy
has
went 0 for 12.
yeah, I
Fangraphs
mean
isn't updated for today. Going into the game, he was 0 for 8. Duran
yeah,
was
and
1 for 8.
Rafaela also was, yeah, 0 for
0
4
for 8. Yeah.
today,
Yeah.
or
So
0
0 for
total.
12. Yeah, 0 for 12 on on the series. The guys that you really needed to step up and take ownership of this and be that impactful player, especially since we just saw Rafaela walk it off on last Friday to put the Sox in this position. You really hoped that that momentum would carry. The guys that you needed to step up didn't. And we talked about this yesterday too with Brock. You know, if it was Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton beating you, if they were hitting monster home runs, if they were scoring all the runs that they have scored all season, you understand that. This series was Anthony Volpe, Ben Rice, and Jazz Chisholm.
Like, the last 3 players you wanna see pounding the Red Sox.
Yeah. And give it up to Cam Schlittler. I have to watch how I say that. A masterful performance against the team that he grew up rooting for. And that doesn't make it better, but the Red Sox just had no answers for him. He was completely dominant out there. And the key to the game today is you had to get to the bullpen early. And there was just there was no chance to do that. Even when Bednar walked Bregman in the bottom or in the top of the ninth, you knew it wasn't nothing was going to come from that. There was no way. It's like we talked about yesterday when Chisholm scored. It seemed just like all the air got taken out of the Red Sox dugout, and it seems like that air was just never put back in tonight either. This team looked listless tonight. Um, that's the only word. That's only the real way I can describe it. Is they looked very listless.
Yeah, just all those uncompetitive at bats. I mean, uh, yeah, to his credit, Schlittler pitched a really good game, but I saw a post. Yeah, I think Nick shared it in the Slack channel where like Schlittler's September ERA was, kind of bolstered by pitching against bad
Yeah,
teams, and that was frustrating just to see him cut through the Red Sox lineup through
yeah.
through 8 innings.
It was 12 strikeouts. It just that for the Yankees, it's exactly what you wanted. for the Red Sox,
Mhm.
it's exactly what you didn't need. Um, but also, I mean, I really don't think it would have mattered who was out there. The Red Sox, outside of Masataka Yoshida, could not string together a hit. Um, I think on the night nobody got to second.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't score outside of home runs if you can't get to second base. So,
Mhm.
um, just overall, obviously a disappointing night. That being said, back in March and April, had you told us that the Red Sox were going to be playing meaningful baseball in September and playing some October baseball, I think we all would have been excited. Um, Obviously, there's a lot of what ifs surrounding this series. What if Roman Anthony hadn't gotten hurt? Um, what if Brian Bayo hadn't kind of fallen apart through the month of September? What if Lucas Giolito's elbow didn't start barking and he was able to pitch today? Um, and I kind of hate that we're going to this, but what if Rafael Devers was in this lineup? Um, the Red Sox are sorely missing a power bat. And you'd hope that Nate Lowe could kind of fill that hole, and he really hasn't. He's hit two home runs. He hit two home runs since coming over um, from the Nationals. In that, you know, he somehow passed waivers, and the Red Sox signed him as a free agent. But there are two massive holes in this lineup, in my opinion, or in this roster. You have to have a solid number two starter next season.
For
I
sure.
think we're all fingers crossed that Joe Ryan pops back up in that conversation. Um,
Yeah.
and there has to be a power bat, and unfortunately, um, the only power bat that was going to be on the market this offseason is staying in Toronto. Um,
Oh, no.
Alex Bregman is, I mean, Alex Bregman
Wait.
is likely
Wait.
the best hitter on the free agent market should he opt out. Um,
Hold
and
up. Wait, circling back to Toronto, did you was this a reference to Vlad?
of course it was. It's been months since I've made one.
I was gonna say
Um,
you've gone on a cold streak with him, so
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
if you're
I
a longtime listener of the podcast, you know my deep love and borderline infatuation with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. playing for the Boston Red Sox.
well,
Um,
I will say
yeah,
between Junior Camanero's earrings and Vlad's in the series with the Rays and then immediately followed by the Blue Jays, I kinda get it with Vlad. Those
yeah,
earrings look great
yeah.
on him,
He's a
and
stylish man.
they probably cost more than my house, but
Oh, I
yeah,
guarantee it.
just I mean, yeah, I see it, now, but
It there's no power bat on the free agent market. Alex Bregman is probably
well,
your option there.
what's his name? Schwarber. If the
Yeah,
Phillies don't
and it
if
looks
the
like
Phillies don't make it
Allison is watching on Facebook, which is awesome. She said the exact same
yeah,
thing. Schwarber, if he doesn't stay put, that's a very good point. I forgot that Schwarber is a potential free agent. Um,
yeah,
Obviously,
but
Alex Cora likes him. He maybe
yeah,
tampered with him about 3 weeks ago when he was asked about it.
mhm.
I would love Schwarber to come back to Boston. I don't see him leaving Philly. Maddie, you probably know the temperature of that a little more than I do, but
Yeah, I was gonna he's represented by, I think, CAA, so he's not a Scott Boras client, which is I
that's
mean, that
something.
could go either way there.
Yeah,
I mean, just, I think the Phillies he said he's open to extensions, but the Phillies didn't engage, which is kinda crazy knowing how gung ho, John Middleton is about getting his
yeah,
freaking World Series ring. But
yeah.
even I mean, you're kind of seeing the issues where they have an aging core that's locked up for the long-term future. I mean, Bryce Harper is having an off year, but even then, an off year from Bryce Harper is still above average production.
It's a good year for anyone else. Yeah,
And he's one of those guys who, I mean, I dislike personally, but if he was, a Red Sox player, I probably would root for him. I hate to have that recorded, but I mean, yeah, there are a lot of players like that.
Yeah. Pete Alonso did announce that he's going to be a free agent. He's opting out. So that's an interesting conversation with, the kind of what aboutism about Casas next season, who is apparently walking without crutches and has been in the dugout through the end of the season. But I mean, can you trust Casas to stay healthy? Is there some kind of competition between Casas, Lowe, and Romy in spring training? You really can't sell Casas at this point. His value is as low as it has ever been. And he unfortunately is probably going to carry the injury prone tag for the rest of his career. I don't see Pete Alonso leaving New York, although the Red Sox did engage with him last offseason. But it could be interesting, and I don't hate that.
I mean, you could probably work some type of platoon if well, yeah, Casas isn't moving for all the reasons you just articulated. So, I mean, there could be some type of platoon work there, but then you have to wonder, what about Massa, who was the team's best offensive player in the postseason this year?
Absolutely. We're welcoming Nick onto the stream. Nick, thanks for being here.
Yeah, sorry about that. It took me a while. Ended up having to first reset my computer and then use a completely different browser.
Oh no.
Yeah.
We were just talking about kind of at moving into the off season now, and how the Red Sox realistically need to target some power to be able to keep up with this Yankees lineup, the Blue Jays, the Mariners, even the Astros. And I know the Astros missed the playoffs, but they came screaming in there at the end. So the lack of power, I think, is probably what ultimately sunk the Red Sox going into this wild card series.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't know if you guys mentioned him before, but I'd say someone they got to look to target is Schwarber, if Philly even lets him, hit the market for a while.
Yeah, that we were just talking about him, and then we were talking about how Pete Alonso announced that he's retesting free agency.
Yeah.
So you've got two power bats, but outside of them, the market is dangerously thin.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just remembered Murakami.
Oh yeah, I always forget about Murakami. I worry that I hate to call it the typical, but like the typical Japanese move over, where it takes 2 to 3 seasons to get his feet firmly under him. I didn't get that. Oh, thanks, Siri. But worry that it's going to take him a couple of seasons, and I don't know if this fan base can wait a couple of seasons now. We've had a taste of October again since 2021. Obviously, Roman Anthony is going to be back next year. That's a huge power bump. You hope that Marcelo is going to kind of come into his own. He's taking grounders, or has been taking grounders in Fort Myers, so that's positive. So I don't know. We'll see. Real quick, I'm going to throw this question up on the screen for us to see, because Allison is once again on Facebook, and she's asking about thoughts on trading Connor Wong during the offseason. There's probably something there, but it's going to be a package deal. Wong's not going to be the centerpiece of anything right now, and you'd have to be very, very on trading your backup catcher when Kyle Teal is no longer in the system, and there's really nobody after Carlos Narvaez.
Yeah, if this was asked after next year, 26, I'd say there's probably a higher chance, because by that point you'll probably have Brooks Brannon up at AAA, who you could say look at him as the backup catcher for the time being. Though personally, in my opinion, I don't think there's much value for Wong right now after the season he had between injuries and just inconsistent play. Plus, he's on a cheap contract, so I think they'll keep him around at least, through spring training, unless they have a deal out there for another catcher, like maybe Adley from Baltimore. Maybe he becomes available in the offseason and the Sox take a swing.
Your guy?
Yeah.
Your guy, Maddie?
I wouldn't be opposed to that. The Orioles locked up Basalo, so I mean, yeah, I just don't know about the Orioles really trading in their division.
The last
it would
time
take a
it
lot.
happened was Erod, right? Was the last trade to the Sox, at least.
Yeah. So
they traded with the Rays last trade deadline.
Okay.
It was this year, before the trade deadline.
Didn't they trade
Eflin? Sent a relief pitcher to the Rays, and then, because I remember it was like his first or second game with the Rays was during that July series against the Red Sox that Cedon hit the walk-off in.
Yep, that's exactly right. I'd be interested in Ford from the Pirates if they don't think that he's the answer there. He played a decent season this year, but then you're kind of looking at 1A, 1B with Narvaez. They're very similar catchers. I don't know. I don't think there's anything there for Wong right now. But we'll see. If he comes out and lights the world on fire in spring training, that's a different conversation. But kind of circling it back here, and we'll wrap this up here in just a couple minutes. Season's over, and we've got a lot that we're going to be talking about on the website over the next couple of weeks. There's already some really good ideas for articles that have been thrown out there. I guess my final question to you all is, what do you hope the Red Sox do? The top thing on the list, according to you, what should be the Red Sox number one off-season target, if it's a person, or we just have to upgrade this position? What do you guys think?
Myself, I think they did a good job this year with it, the pitching depth for starting pitchers. I mean, how many guys did we end up losing across the whole year, either through injury or trade? But I think what they need, and this was a big thing entering this season too, was pretty much a definitive number two to pair with Crochet.
Yeah.
Now, some might say Joe Ryan, but when you look at his numbers in the second half, either he was quiet quitting on the Twins for not being traded, or there's some sort of consistency where every second half he starts to fall off a little. So maybe not him, but that's a name to look at. There's going to be other pitchers out there as well. The free agent market isn't really that deep, though. You got Valdez from the Astros, but he was awful in the second half. And personally, I would not want to get into multiple years with him. Maybe something like a 2-year deal at best as the back end, but not as a number two. So I think if they're going to do that, it's going to be more trade market for the number two. Maybe we move one of our many outfielders who have to get moved because we have a log jam.
I've got some thoughts on that, Nick. Don't you worry about that. What do you think is like item 1A for the Red Sox, Maddie?
Aside from a number two starter, I think I'll just say I think Zach Gallen is worth exploring. Unlike Joe Ryan, he kind of turned things around after the trade deadline, and he's an East Coast guy. Maybe he wants to be a little closer to home for the second half of his career. So, I mean, yeah, I'd really like them to go after him. But 1A, a power hitter, I think the Red Sox can get really creative with how they address that void in their roster or in their lineup. So, I mean, Pete Alonso, Schwarber, Murakami.
Real Muto's also a free agent. I don't have a whole lot of interest there. that's been a quick decline.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, well, actually, second half of the season, he had a pretty solid, or he turned things around.
Okay,
But
I don't pay
I
attention to Phillies baseball that much, so hand up.
I don't willingly. He
Yeah,
also
power
seems like
hitter.
the type. Yeah, he seems like the type that would want to play more than Cora would let him with Narvaez.
Yeah.
Yeah, though the only thing like with Real Muto, I don't know if it was just taking advantage of Citizens Bank, but on the road his numbers took a huge drop. But maybe with the Green Monster, he can take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
For me,
Alex, your
I
thoughts?
think I'm so torn on Alex Bregman. If somebody is willing to offer the contract that was floated a few weeks ago, it needs to be somebody other than the Boston Red Sox. And I wrote about that after that came out. I think that Marcelo Meyer, I know that he's the shortstop of the future. He looked really, really good at third base after he got called up to, be Bregman's injury replacement. So I think that you've kind of got Marcelo, you can move into that spot. Second base is obviously still a huge question mark going into next year if that's the case. I don't think Christian Campbell is a second baseman. I don't think he's a shortstop either. So you can't move Trevor Story to second and plug Campbell in at short. And there's really no such thing as a power hitting second baseman. So I think it's a number 2 starter. I like Joe Ryan, but Nick, you're 100% correct. That seems to be a trend in the second half of each season of his career. It kind of takes that downturn. This isn't going to happen, and I don't even want to put it out in the ether. I would love the Red Sox to make a run at Paul Skeens. They have the pieces to get it done. I would sell the farm for him because the Pirates are not going to sign him to any kind of an extension. I think that every move that the Red Sox make from here on out until Skeens has signed an extension somewhere else needs to be with an eye on keeping money available and prospects and major league talent available to trade for Paul Skeens. And I think that if you're a professional baseball team and that is not your idea right now, you're running your team incorrectly. I would sell the farm for Paul Skeens. And Willier.
Can't disagree with that. He's Paul Skeens, best pitcher in the majors right now.
Yeah, we're talking about a number 2, but what if Crochet was a number 2? Like that is that's an embarrassment of riches if that's the case. Like I said, I don't think it's going to happen, but I think that the front office needs to be keeping tabs on him, and every move that is being made needs to be made while cognizant that Paul Skeens will become available sometime in the next 2 years.
All right. So what if not to put you on the spot, but what if the Pirates come back and they say any deal has to include Roman Anthony?
That's probably where I would draw the line.
Right.
Anybody else but Roman is untouchable, or Roman is the only untouchable. Anybody else,
right,
I think, is fair game in that. I would trade back for Devers just to trade him to the Pirates.
I mean, right now, I wouldn't mind trading for Devers just to have his bat in tonight's game.
Yeah, we talked about that before you got on.
Yeah, sorry about that again.
Yeah, no, you're good. Technology can be super fun sometimes, but obviously, I mean, I think the game's totally different if you've got somebody that can get to second base, and I think Devers would have gotten to second base at least once. So, and that's come from somebody that kind of, I hate to say supports the trade, but somebody who doesn't have as much of an issue with the trade as some other people. Devers would have made a difference over these last 2 games. I firmly believe that. yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap this. This has been the longest live stream that we've had so far. But I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Unfortunately, the Red Sox lost tonight and the season is over. So we are now turning our attention to the off season, and really outside of the end of the World Series. The winter meetings are the next big thing on the schedule. So I'm sure we'll be very busy as we kind of gear up for those and start making our hot takes on why Jaron Duran for Paul Skeens makes sense for both sides.
Before we wrap up, are you guys rooting for any other teams that are still in the postseason?
I like the Mariners. I've always liked the Mariners. Um, a good friend of mine is a Dodgers fan, and so through him, I'll probably have to keep tabs on things just because. But I will probably not watch much baseball now.
All right. I won't lie. I mean, I'll find myself rooting for the Mariners, the Cubs, just because how can you not root for them? And then I have friends who
Yeah,
enjoy the Blue Jays and Dodgers, and I'd be lying if I said I'm not rooting for the Blue Jays this weekend. But
yeah, that's a very good point, Nick.
just want to see the Yankees get knocked out.
Yeah, Maddie.
Go Dodgers.
I mean, now I wouldn't be sad to see Mook get another one.
Exactly. They have a very likable team. So do the Cubs. I think a Dodgers Cubs NLCS would be a lot of fun.
That would do numbers, as the kids would say. But yeah, these live streams have been fun. We'll talk kind of off live stream. I'd like to do these some more over the off season. I think these have been fun, and so shout out to Brock for deciding to let us give this a shot over these last 3 days. An unfortunate end to the Red Sox season, but there's a lot to be hopeful for as we focus our attention into 2026. So thanks for tuning in. We'll be back probably next week with our regularly scheduled Talk Sox podcast, and we'll catch you guys then. See you, everybody.
Take care.